Too much to say, no more.
Bad man. He ain't there.
Now all of you, get yourselves warm. Stay strong. Stay with me.
His eyes are sparkling. Our journey. See, he's thinking really clear. I think we all feel what the real man is doing in spite of black water and that whole. Yes. You ran away.
Oh, I didn't know such a thing. Don't be a fool.
You do what you snake. Be quiet.
I do. Save who you can and let the
You
rest
borrowed
rot.
money from my business.
Look after
Cash Strauss. You owe him. You took the money. He wants it back. What's not to understand?
Lucy. You just can't
Where's
quite
our money?
admit it
I
to
don't have it.
yourself.
I gave you all I had.
Before this video begins, this is part of a video essay that I have which is 3 hours and 15 minutes long, so if you want to go check out the full thing and watch it in your own time, then make sure to go check that out. It'll be in the link down below, but also you can find it as one of the first videos on my channel. And as well as that, there will be more of these ones coming up. They're just going to be the cut up segments that are already in that video, just kind of re-uploaded for more content, but also so that people have more digestible videos. So yeah, with that all being said, I won't badger you anymore. Have fun watching the video. Now I'm going to be talking about the smaller things of this game. Obviously, when you actually look at game design, it's nowhere near a small feat, but because so many people look at this game as such a story-rich and story-driven game, a lot of these other areas get overshadowed. I've already talked about the story in great detail, so I'm not going to continue on about that. What I'm going to be talking about is the world design, immersion, combat, and as well as that, the side missions. All of those 4 things add up alongside the story to create you a world that is believable, breathable, and actually something that you want to be in for longer periods of time and be with characters that you get to spend little amounts of time with throughout this story. And you even want to spend time with the characters that you've spent hours on end with. The world design of this game is very close to perfect. The world depicts what you would expect to see in a Western game. Not only this, but how the narrative and characters interact with the world is second to none. Now what I mean by this is that the Red Dead world is massive, but it's not dull. You'll always have something going on. You'll either be thinking about some moment in the story, a rabbit that's really close to your horse, or how incredible the view is inside this game. And then you remember that you are playing a game, yet it looks this good. This world has so many amazing features that most of the time you're not even going to be picking up on your first playthrough. It will take 2 to even start picking up on most things. Not only is the game beautifully designed, but Rockstar put a massive amount of effort into making sure this game was accurate to the times. When you go and visit Saint Denis for the first time, you feel the same way that Dutch and Arthur view the city. And this is because they're showing you what they want you to see. But not only does this game look incredible, you also get these random events that always keeps you on your toes and always making sure you're paying attention to the game. Games like the most recent Assassin's Creed entries from Origins to Valhalla, all the way through to things like Witcher 3 have a feature called auto-running horses, which I don't like that much. Yes, I'm aware that you can have an auto-running horse in this game, which I ended up using very rarely, as generally speaking, I was paying attention most of the time. Because it's always in the cinematic mode, you're not really ever using the auto-running mechanic, which keeps you very present whilst you're playing the game. When in other games, for example, I'd end up in those moments just taking my phone out and having a break whilst the horse ends up riding for like 5 minutes. So you don't end up randomly going off and exploring things, you don't end up just coming by random events that might be a bit of fun. The world looks and performs in a way that feels like a breathable world. Games like GTA 5 or The Witcher 3 with things like Novigrad or Los Santos, both are amazing. A city like Los Santos is an incredibly polished and well-crafted city, but Red Dead 2 is an incredibly polished and created world. There is a difference. The combat in this game isn't really anything new. For me, one of the main issues that I had when I was first playing this game is that I genuinely just felt like I was playing GTA but with a cowboy skin on, and it did really kick in for that first about 5 hours. I found myself though by the end of this game really loving the movement, and it felt really unique and not just like GTA 5. I feel like yes, by the time I go and replay GTA 5 I'll feel like I'm playing Red Dead with a skin or something, but all in all it now does feel a level of uniqueness that it didn't have when I first played. The combat in this game is very similar to GTA 5, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This game wasn't made to be revolutionary when it comes to its fighting mechanics. It's not meant to be something like the Souls series or have the parkour of Assassin's Creed. It was meant to be a generally great game that gets classed as amazing because of its story. One thing that I do also really like is the actual amount of brutality that you can have in this game. You can go from basically being fairly stealthy and not being too brutal to being someone who's basically going to choke out someone and slam someone's head into some concrete to kill them. You can make your choice. choice. You can choose to charge at everyone, stabbing, beating, and choking everyone to death, or you can take the stealthy route. You can throw knives and shoot with your bow. It allowed this game's combat system to not get stale right away for me, in comparison to, let's say, something like Valhalla, which, even though, yes, I ended up spending more time in Valhalla, aka 70 hours, I just felt like the combat in Valhalla was literally just the same thing. Dodge, attack, dodge, attack. There was no, like, actual skill to the combat system in any way, and I don't really see, like, anything in that game that necessarily required a massive amount of skill. Red Dead doesn't necessarily have anything that requires skill, but the main difference between these two is that Red Dead is an amazing story, and Valhalla is probably one of the worst in the whole of the franchise. Yes, the combat is rather basic, but that's fine. It was meant to be that way. The side content is something that honestly, on my first playthrough, I almost completely ignored. I was so enthralled by the main story that honestly, I didn't really care about anything else. However, in my time of my second playthrough, I've been touching some more of the side content. Obviously, in my first playthrough, I walked across some of it because I was like, oh, what is this? Oh, it's side content, I don't really care. Which obviously isn't the approach I should be taking to this game, because I have now taken it into the second playthrough where I'm actually now playing some of the side content and really loving it. It's very surprising the amount of detail and depth that you get in some of these missions. Some can range from being really funny to being really serious. However, I'd still say The Witcher 3 probably still outranks it, and I'd probably even say Skyrim has some better side content than Red Dead 2. Which isn't to say that Red Dead 2's side content is bad, but I think there's so much more that you can do obviously in a fantasy world with elves, magic, and medieval combat than you can do in something like a cowboy western game. But one mission that I do want to talk about in particular is a mission where you go and meet up with a guy called Mr. Granger. It's a side mission within a side mission in a way. You're kind of going around and collecting information about this guy to write a book on someone. So you either have to do that or you have to kill them and you become the greatest gunslinger of all time and the book gets written about you. But I just found all this really funny overall. Like, he goes from being extremely angry because you're taking notes about him and doesn't really view anyone else as an equal to him when it comes to being a gunslinger, and just the fact that, you know, it ends with him basically being killed by you but also covered in shit. I feel like a lot of the moments of the side content in this game are meant to have great tension mixed with comedic elements that just work really well together to make the content really good. I'm still on my second playthrough and I'm just enjoying all the side content as I go through, as I missed a lot of it on my first time playing, and honestly I do heavily regret it. I'd say though, this game's side content is genuinely better than most games out there. It's better than probably the most recent entries in the Assassin's Creed franchise, but I don't think it would beat games though like The Witcher 3 or Skyrim. This game though, in my opinion, was meant to be played twice. I think this is something that only this game has done for me. I've played a plethora of other games out there, and many of them I've ended up playing multiple times, but this is the only one where I felt like I actually wanted to play the game second time around right after finishing it. When I was done with the game, I just felt sad. I wanted to play it again. I wanted to spend more time with the characters that I've been playing as. I wanted to go back and explore the things that I haven't done. I wanted to experience all the characters like Arthur, Dutch, Hosea, Zadie, John, Charles, and Sean once again. I wanted to be walking around the Western world that I had just basically spent the last week of my life within, and there was so much more for me left to explore that it just made me have more of a reason to continue playing this game again. I wanted to walk around a Western world once again and learn more about the world of Red Dead that I had just spent the last week of my life playing. And because of videos on YouTube and playing through this game a second time, you pick up on so much more new stuff, especially Dutch's manipulation of the gang, and how he interacts with Arthur, for example, and the gaslighting that he does on Arthur at multiple occasions. Another reason to play this game twice is the way that the world interacts with Arthur depending on how low or high honor he is. If you haven't played this game before, you just need to. There's no other way of putting it, and even though I've told you pretty much everything there is when it comes to the main story content of this game, well, not everything, I did try and brush over most of it, but I did talk about a lot of it. But most of what I've told you doesn't really scratch the surface when it comes to the characters and everything about them. If you've already played through this game once but you haven't touched it on a second run, I'd definitely recommend at least playing this game a second time without having any emotional attachment to any of the characters. You have an emotional attachment to Arthur, however, it's not necessarily as much as you would have on your first playthrough where you're experiencing everything for the first time. So take in the world, the immersion, the design, and even how the characters talk to one another in the script, because all of these add up to reasons why this game is so perfect, and honestly, there's not many games that can come close to it.